Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video I thought I'd talk about the bootloader on the Ultimate-NAG52 V2 PCB that I've been working on. So first of all, why bootloader on this? Well, on our existing 1.3 board, the ESP32 contains its own bootloader, which Espressif ships on the device, and it's all good. It lets you do uploading over the USB port. And then also doing dual OTA, so I've got two app partitions on there, which, to be fair, wastes a lot of space on the device, but it means that it's not really brickable. So I wanted the same unbrickableness, if that's a word, on this TCU. And the difference being that on this TCU, I just have a processor with some blank storage on it. There was no pre-shipped bootloader or anything. So I had to make my own for this, and I've added some pretty cool features. So first of all, communication-wise, you can talk to it over USB and over a CAN interface. So for instance, if you're in a car, you might not have the USB, but if you are savvy enough to have your own CAN hardware, you can talk to the TCU in the bootloader and application via CAN. And the main thing is to update the software on the TCU. You can actually update the bootloader itself because the bootloader comes in two parts. A preloader, which is like a very small 4KB program, which just checks on first boot if there's an update for the bootloader, in which case it copies it over, then runs that as the bootloader. And all of this is because I don't think most people will have these little diagnostic SWD probes for debugging and stuff. So essentially, you cannot program a device using these. So let's unplug that for more realistic terms. So right now we have it inside the application. It's running the TLE chip, and I have my slave mode CAN running that I demoed a couple of videos ago, whereby I can currently set off the solenoids and you can hear them. So this is the application, and I made a nice little flashing tool to go with this. It's a command line interface, but eventually I will probably integrate this into the app. And what you'll see will happen is, let's go over CAN because it's a little bit slower first of all. So we're going to say to flash the application over CAN 0, and this CAN fast mode is a specific one for when I have it on the desk, because by default, for instance, for cars for like 211 and stuff, the ISO-TP timings are very conservative because the CAN frames have to pass through the central gateway or ignition switch first, and then from there to the TCU. And if I try to flash over that speed, a small 80KB program takes about 5 minutes to flash. Whereas CAN fast mode, we ignore all the CAN timings, and I set everything to be as fast as possible. This is meant for the desk only, so you just have the ECU connected directly to CAN hardware. So here are the CAN frames on the CAN network. This is currently the slave mode CAN data. And we'll just say flash, and look what happens. You'll start seeing it's communicating, and you see this light on for the bootloader, and then just like that, done, we're back in the application. Now, so what it basically just did was it copied the application over to the application partition, and then signed off on it, checked everything so that it was okay, and then booted back into that. Now, let's say you do something stupid, and you kill power or reset the TCU mid-flash. So let's do that now. Now the flasher has stopped working, which is fine. We can kill that now. And as you can see, it's still blinking. Even if I reset the TCU, it still blinks. And this is to say that it is stuck in bootloader. So essentially there's no CAN traffic, but I can still diagnose it. And what I built was a nice little identification command. We can just say ident, the TCU, and it will tell me the serial number, the production date, of which that is a little bit wrong, I need to fix that. And it will say the reason for why it's in bootloader. It'll say application invalid or flashing not complete. So you can still talk to it, and you can recover that just by simply flashing it again. So we'll flash, and we're flashing, and done. And now we're back in the application again. Now, one thing that I wanted was for the bootloader itself to actually be updatable. And since you can't write to the bootloader whilst you're executing it, it does it in two stages. It essentially copies the bootloader to where the application would be, tells the preloader it needs to copy the bootloader over. So when the next startup, it copies the bootloader, CRC checks it first before it copies, and then you have to flash the application. So let's try and do this now. I'm going to try this with one hand, so this might be a bit fun. So I've typed in the command correctly. Let's go. So you see, first of all, it's copying over the bootloader. It's again all happening over CAN bus. And then it resets. It has to wait a little bit. And then again, copying the application. And just like that, we're back in the application. So, pretty indestructible. There's also some other ways that you can force the bootloader. If, for instance, for some reason something's not right, so it already goes into the bootloader automatically if the watchdog is triggered, so that for diagnostics you know that that's happened and there's something wrong in the app. But also if you rapidly press the reset button a few times, it will trigger it. There you go. And then again, we can do our little ident command to ask why it went into the bootloader. And it will say quick reboot count exceeded. So pretty nice. The other way that you can do it is by shorting the 2 top pins on the EEPROM chip. That's called the magic pin method. And then lastly, if the application crashes, it will put it in there. I'm not going to recompile the application now, but I'll put a picture up on the screen to say what it shows in the ident. It's pretty cool because it actually even tells you the panic message or crash reason why it crashed and went back into the bootloader. But when it's in this temporary bootloader mode, you can just reset and it goes back into the application. So yeah, I'm very happy with this. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And as for when I'm planning to release this TCU, well, it's still a very early work in progress. We just have the hardware layer abstraction done, so it can manipulate all the solenoids, as you can see. It can read the speed sensors, it can read all the analog sensors. So now it's a case of building all the more complex logic like CAN, HALs, etc. So still a lot of work to do. In the meantime, I'm still fully working on the 1.3 boards and releasing software updates constantly. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one, where hopefully I'll get more of this working. So goodbye for now.